Bad news?
Well, I don't know what you would call
just news.
Spending your entire child's inheritance and
college education,
family fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dempsey family fortune invested in a car by accident.
Guess what, guys? We are in the world famous. Now I sound like I'm overhyping it.
Yeah,
world famous Peterson Museum at
Los Angeles, California, because some people may not know, even though it is world famous, they may not know.
Do people know where Los Angeles is?
They do know where Los Angeles is.
Most people have heard of Los Angeles. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
The real star of the show is not here, but here. This is the 1986 Porsche 962 factory chassis. This particular car won Sebring not once, but twice. And when I first got this car several years ago, I was like, oh man, they won Sebring twice. How cool is that? It must be like the only car that won Sebring twice. Guess what? There's like 3 or 4 of them that actually won Sebring twice. It's like a club that's not terribly exclusive. It's kind of funny. But
well, at least you're a member of that non-exclusive.
I'm a member of that club. There's as many cars that won Sebring as there are Probe 16s.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got the
20,
Probe 16
30.
coming up soon, if I ever get my ass in gear to be able to put that thing back together. The story about how I ended up with this is entertaining. And I'm gonna have to change the story a little bit because I got flamed a little bit when I told it last time. So I was at the Monterey auctions, and we've been restoring some 962s on and off and stuff like that. So there were 2 other cars that we were interested in buying and looking at to do restorations on. So it was 3 962s for sale at this auction. 2 of the trust cars, 106B and 106BA or whatever. That's a whole different story. We'll have to do a video on those. But then this car was up too on Saturday, and it was owned by a friend of mine, Jerry Molitor, and we were looking at it. And this car was $1 million car, et cetera. He turned down offers of $1.5 million the year before, or whatever, and I don't have any of that money. So, you know, it's not even like in my world of
Plus,
thinking.
you'd have to ask your wife.
Yes. Would you stop that? You know the story, so you're peppering the story. So anyway, you know, we bid on the cars, the restoration candidates, because that's what we do is we restore cars, and I didn't get them, and it was because they wanted too much money for them and all that stuff. So anyway, I went home that day and I called my wife. I said, "You'll be so proud of me. I didn't buy a car today." And she's like, "Yay, good job, yeah."
She does a whew.
Nah, she's just like, "Yeah, okay." Yeah, she doesn't really.
Kids going to college.
Yeah, exactly. The college fund is still intact. Yeah, you're prefacing the story again.
I didn't hear any of this. I'm not privy to that part.
Yeah. So the next day, that was on like a Thursday, and this one was going up on Friday. So I think Friday happened, and there's something called the Concorso Italiano, which is an Italian Concours up there.
It's the best. That's my only thing I really like about that.
It's
and the
not
races.
bad. It's not bad.
Good cars. Great cars.
So I was up there at the Concours, and you know, it was getting a little boring after a while. So I figured I would see if this thing had come across the block. So I'm driving over the hill, and I called, or I checked on the line or whatever. It's not over. So anyway, I drove back fast, and I get there, and Jerry's there, who's selling this car, and he's looking all nervous because the auction wasn't really going that well this year.
It was I think a weak year for car sales.
I don't remember what year it was, but that particular auction was a little bit weak. And Jerry's looking at me and he's like, "Oh man, I'm really nervous about this. I've got like a loan on this car. I got to sell this car." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Okay, all right. You know, I'm not really sure." I'm like, "So, you know, I'm like, well, what's the reserve?" And he told me what the reserve was, and I'm like, "Okay, all right. That's cool. It's kind of like what we were bidding on a little bit yesterday, but not a little bit higher, but not that much." So, so I said, I said, "Okay, well, you know, I'll bid on the car. You know, it's all good." You know, in auctions like this, when you have a reserve price, if you bid below the reserve, it's really just theatrics at this point. It's not shill bidding. It's not anything like that. It doesn't really count because the reserve is not met. So the only thing that can change is if you lower the reserve. So which could get you. So anyway, so I was bidding on these cars the day before. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll bid on this car. I'm sure I'll get outbid easily because nobody, you know, he turned down a gazillion dollars for this thing previously, and everyone knew it was coming up. And it was another car that was on the ads on the sports car market, and it was advertised. And it was on the front page of the catalog of the auction.
You were really kind of like eyeballing it anyways.
Sure. So anyway, I'm like, don't worry, Jerry, got it. So I'm standing in the back of the room, and the car's coming, and I'm bidding on the car, et cetera, et cetera. And he had told me the reserve was one price, and he wouldn't, I said, I'm not going to lower the reserve at all or anything like that, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So, the car probably won't sell, and we'll probably get outbid on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So you think.
Yeah. So I'm bidding and all that stuff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, very far away from the reserve and what the offers that he had or whatever. So anyway, the auctioneer, Malcolm, was up on, and he's bidding and all this. And for you guys that don't understand, I'm moving out of frame here, about how auctions work, it's a lot of theatrics. I mean, we'll do not even so much that, a lot of bidding of, there might be nobody bidding against you.
It's shady. I don't like it.
It is a little shady if you don't understand what's going on. It's a little shady. If you understand what's going on, it's interesting because you can figure out, how cars are sold. These types of cars are sold. But anyway, I'm in the back and I'm bidding on this stuff, and then Malcolm's like, he's like, oh, we have one more bid. We have one more bid. And looking at me, and we're getting close to the reserve, and I don't really have, this money. So I'm like, okay, so Malcolm's like, oh, I need one more bid. So, the auctioneers will kind of mess with you. Say, one more bid, you can end up bidding, like you raise your hand, and you're like, great, another $50,000 from you. No, I didn't want that. No, so like they will, they're a little, you have to know how the process works.
Sat there many in Monterey. We were here years ago at one Peterson.
Yes, I was trying to sell a car here, which is a different whole story too, if you're selling a car versus buying a car. But anyway,
shady business.
Yeah. So I go to Malcolm. I said, I'll do 10 more like that. So he says 10. And he says, okay. Then he says, selling the car today. And I'm like, what? I'm like, the reserve was this. My bid is down here. What is the, what, huh? What's the, so he's like, going once, going twice, sold. And I was like, oh, God.
The proud owner of a,
what's your bidder number? And I'm like, complete surprise.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So Jerry comes back, and I'm like, Jerry, what'd you do? He's like, the car sold. I don't know what happened because the bid was low as reserve. I'm like, why did you lower the reserve? He's like, do you know who bought the car? I'm like, yeah, me.
Yeah.
And he's like, why did you buy it? What? No, why did you lower the reserve? I don't understand. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, this is a long time ago, so I was a little more clueless than I am today.
Let's just say Wayne was naive at this point. Didn't understand the system, helping a friend out.
You have got to understand how these things work if you are, and I will freely admit that I made was it an error? I don't know.
I'm going to say it was an error in the bank's favor because I think
I did okay in the end.
I think you did okay in the end.
I did fine in the end.
You didn't get a beat down, so that's good.
No, it's a great car. I didn't buy a piece of crap. But anyway, I bought the car for almost half of what Jerry had wanted originally, like the year before. But anyway, so Jerry and I are like, why did you lower the reserve? I didn't lower the reserve. And we're having this fight, argument, not an argument, but it's
two playground kids fighting in the back.
Well, we need to take it out to the back. So we go out to the back. Why did you lower the reserve? I didn't lower the reserve.
They pulled their reserve out of the auction.
So they pulled the reserve themselves, was what happened. So the auction company covered the difference because this car was on the cover of the magazines. It was advertised. And what do auction companies do? They sell cars. If they don't sell cars and they don't meet reserves and all that, guess what they don't get next auction? They don't get cars. So
yeah, I remember that year. The economy was, I think, crappy, and nothing was selling.
It was 2010, I think, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I remember. I think
Adam not the greatest time.
I think Adam ended up buying 3 or 4 cars from I would say the shadiest of shady auction companies. I won't mention the name because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was like a circus show.
Was it Uso and Eel?
I don't know. It's the one
they're no longer in business.
Well, it was one of those ones that you go in there and there was guys that reminded you that they worked in a circus trying to get you into different attractions and things.
Yes, that was Russo and Steele, and they are no longer in business.
Oh, so then we can talk all
we can talk all shit about them all day long.
We enjoyed going there because it was in fact like a circus show, but you just looked at it and go,
it was.
Why would you ever sell your car here?
Right. And the auctioneers come,
Yeah, it was crazy.
No, at the high-end auctions, it's like the English guy accent. Like, do I hear 50? Do I hear 50?
Well,
50 from you over here. It's my wife likes to go.
Yeah,
it's very
a lot of tipping.
It's very entertaining.
Different crowd. You know, a lot of big block Chevys rolling across there. But
Or
the other
one is European
Ferrari, the
stuff.
$26 million Ferrari. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's all relative, right? Because I couldn't even like afford a wheel on that.
Yeah. Out of state.
Yeah.
Third-party check.
So to get back to the story here, yeah. So Jerry and I don't know. So anyway, that's interesting. I just pushed my car forward here. It looked like a part fell off of it. That's
Probably something to do with brakes or seatbelts. Muffler bearing.
Muffler bearing. We'll put that right here for the next video.
Yeah. Valve guide seal.
Yeah, the valve guide seal.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
There you go. Anyway, so Jerry and I are in the back, and a friend of mine, Henry, comes over. He's like, "Oh, congratulations on your purchase." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So Jerry,
Wayne's all sweaty now.
So Jerry and I were kind of trying to figure out what happened, and it did happen that the auction company had lowered the reserve, and they sold the car. So anyway, cutting out some
gruesome
details on that, I now had another problem on my hand.
Well, you had many problems as I saw it. At that point,
Yeah.
but-
So after I had so successfully and eloquently proclaimed how great I was to my wife about not buying any cars, I had now bought this one for twice as much, basically, as the other ones that I didn't buy. So I was like, and then I had to figure out how to pay for it too, because I wasn't really expecting that. So I went to Chase Bank and pulled down the credit line and borrowed, et cetera, et cetera.
That was later, though.
And that was the next day.
They didn't take your promissory note. I will guarantee payment.
I actually think, I don't remember, so I may be making it up.
Yeah.
I actually think I put some of it on my credit card. So yeah, I think I had to scrape together
That
stuff.
Citibank college card came in handy.
It might have been Citibank Advantage card, the American Airlines one. That would have been the one we put it on. We had with the company Pelican, we had a pretty big credit line. So I don't think they let me put much more than anything of a small dollar amount on there. But anyway, so but that's another set of the details. But the problem I had was explaining it to my wife. So anyway, bought the car, had to get insurance for it, had to have it shipped home, blah, 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 blah. They have all this stuff, worked out for you up there anyway. So I don't remember if I was flying back. I think I was flying back. That's rare when I fly back from Monterey. But I don't know why. But anyway, the car actually, maybe I was driving back, but the car beat me home. And the car was waiting with the transporter when I got to the shop. And then I remember getting the thing off the trailer, and I remember actually literally pushing it in from the rear. My wife called on the phone, and I'm like, I had to get some advice from my friends. One of my friends says, "Oh, don't tell your wife you bought the car."
Well,
not always a good plan.
We know that guy that bought one of the stolen 917 motors.
He's the one who told me not to tell my wife.
But that's what I was thinking. I go, genius.
Yeah. Or one of the guys. Yeah, don't tell your wife. I'm like, that didn't really work out too well for him.
No.
And then they said, you can tell your wife, but you don't they all look the same, because I've got a few of them now. So they all look the same. And just make sure they're not all in the same place at one time.
Yeah.
So just say, I changed the
never
color
gonna
of
work.
it. Yeah.
You know what? That'll never work.
That does work.
Yeah, not at your house.
It actually could work.
No, I'm keeping an eye out for you.
Yeah.
Keeping them honest. I couldn't do anything about the dune buggies.
No, anyway, so I'm pushing the car in. I got my phone here, and she's like, I'm like, "Oh, how you doing?" I'm like pushing this car that we can't afford, and pull down all the light. I'm like, "Oh, I'm just taking care of something right now, and I'll be back." So I hung up with her, and I'm like, "How am I going to explain this to her?" I'm like, "Oh my God." So because we didn't really have the money to buy it. So anyway, so I'm like, okay. I didn't even really plan this, but I'm like, okay. So we get back, and I'm going to take her out to dinner because I haven't seen her like 3 or 4 days, right?
A nice dinner.
Yeah, nice dinner at Terranea. This is a nice, beautiful place down there.
Not Del Taco. So
so
you
we
stepped it up.
go to Catalina Kitchen there or whatever, and then I make sure I get her Mai Tai or margarita. Margarita, I think is, yeah.
Greasing the skin.
Yeah, I'm like, here, have a margarita. And like, we're talking about all that. And then I said, you know, my cousin, who I was staying with, was recently divorced. And her husband was not that great. So anyway, so we're talking about, telling my wife about how, you know, my cousin.
Great time.
No, one of my cousins just, oh, her husband did this, and her husband did that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's a bad guy or whatever.
Setting the bar low.
Yeah. That one part was on purpose, yeah. So then my wife is like, oh, well, tell me about your cousin's new boyfriend. I'm like, okay, but let me just tell you one thing. And I said I kind of made a mistake.
You were waiting for this. I just bought a...
No, I waited until she drank the drink. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
midstream.
Yeah. No, I'm not a manipulative person, but I know it's always good to,
you know, ease into
news. Yes.
Bad news.
It's not really bad
Well,
news. I didn't call it bad news. Not bad news.
Well,
just
I don't know what you would call
just news.
Spending your entire child's inheritance and
college education,
family fortune.
And, yeah, exactly.
The Dempsey family fortune invested in a car by accident. But then again,
yeah, that's going to be the tagline when we have the opening for the video. There you go.
But here's the thing. I know there's like usually accidental things are the best things. And
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but
you know the ending of the story.
I know the ending of the story, but I also know that you have good luck with this kind of stuff, so I would never be worried about it.
Well, it's kind of funny because Scott, who was on the video for the 917 engines, I called him up and I told him what happened, and I could just hear him hit the floor rolling in laughter.
Yeah.
He was like, ah. And I hadn't really researched the car. I didn't even know what it was. He's like, let's see what you bought. So he's typing up and doing the research. One Sebring 86. One Sebring 86.
You got a good one.
It looks like 87, 88. Looks like you got a good car. Oh my God, this is. He said this is hysterically funny, but you actually might have bought not a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Which is kind of weird for you because you usually single out some of these stray dogs and interesting models.
Only Zoom buggies. But you know, one thing about the auctions too is that you are bidding theoretically against other people. So
you hope
they're setting the market as well. So
yeah,
we can do a whole thing on auctions.
It was a bad market, so you did okay, I guess.
I did okay. So anyway, I'm sitting there at dinner with my wife, and she's got I'm like, she's like asking me about how my female cousin's boyfriend is, and I had to make.
Waiting for the waiter to come for another refill.
Well, no, I didn't want to. I wanted the news to get absorbed and not forgotten about. So anyway, one drink is good. So anyway, I said, okay. I said I kind of made a mistake. I said it's not a small mistake.
Had a little bitty accident.
It's not a large mistake. It's kind of a medium-sized mistake. So I started telling her, I said, so there was this Duesenberg that was coming up at the auction. The Duesenberg wasn't bidding too well or whatever. So, I figured that I'd work with Jerry and bid on the car and all that. And I'm telling the whole long story about it. We cut out some details. But anyway, and then she interrupts me. And she says, how much? And I told her, I'm like, no. The details are important. So then this Duesenberg was up. And then she says, the details are not important. How much? So then I blurted
Rip
out,
that Band-Aid
and
off.
I wrote, I'm like, okay. I'm like, the car cost, and she's like,
you're quoting in lira or something to throw her off.
No, I told her, but I'm not gonna say it on camera now. But anyway, and she's like, oh,
it was a good amount.
Oh my God. She's like, what? She's like, are we bankrupt? And I said, no, we're not bankrupt. No. But you know how some people buy a house and the house is really expensive and they can't afford furniture inside and you call them house poor? Yeah. We're car poor now. So no, we can't go on vacation. No, we can't afford new tires for it, but we gotta just kind of take it, but and I said something, and I said something after that was actually, I didn't plan, totally off the cuff, but it turned out to be the exact right thing to say. And I said, I'm disappointed in, I know that you're disappointed in me for spending all this money semi-accidentally. And I said,
did you roll the tears on that one?
I didn't.
Okay.
But I said that, I'm disappointed in myself because you trust me with our finances and I let you down. And then she started to cry.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. And at that moment, I knew I was kind of off the hook. So I was like, oh man, how did I turn that one around into like a, yeah.
Yeah, that worked out a lot better than I expected.
It did work out a lot better than I expected. So, and then, you know, a month later after we bought the car, I got offered quite a bit more for it by this guy right here, Bruce Levin, who had the other 2 cars.
He wanted it back?
Yeah.
So you were okay.
I was okay. I went and told my wife, and she said, well, maybe we should hang on to it.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, nice. No,
The end.
The end.
And here it is in the Peterson Museum, and it is the best car in the collection, and it is a really good car, and
it's a beautiful car.
It's a beautiful car. It's a good luck car. It's, you know, some cars, as I said in one of the videos, I think the Kelly McGillis is a dude video. Yeah. I said that most of my cars,
not?
no, most of my, well, maybe no, but no, most of my cars have curse words associated with them, not nicknames or anything like that. This thing doesn't. You know, this thing is just a great car. So.
Yeah, I remember that when you first loaded this thing down in the shop, and I saw it, I go, oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, very successful car. I think it's the 3rd most winningest 962. There's 7 victories. I think 6 in '87 and 1 in '88, which was Sebring. I talked to Bruce and his son about this car. They said it was just one of those cars that had good juju. They never had any problems with it.
It's good looking too.
It just performed and performed and performed. No wrecks, no mistakes, no nothing, no engine failure. It was just a great car that did very, very well for them. Some cars just have good luck. The one I'm leaning against here, which we'll get to in another video, not good luck.
Not good luck.
Not good luck.
That's also why you have it, maybe.
It was cheap.
There you go.
So there you go.
You know?
Cars with bad luck are less expensive. So, yeah.
It's just everything about it's nice. That whoever was the team, you know, mechanic lead, whatever they call it, they just did a great prep job. Everything is clean.
Yep.
There's no sketchy like wires with tie wraps.
No.
There's just no crap on it. It's
No,
just
this
beautiful.
is a good car. Well, the 962s are the most successful most successful race car of all time, for good reason. They, you know, raced from 1982 with the 956, which is basically the same, up until '94 when they had, you know, the Dower cars basically dominate the season, dominate the race at Le Mans and through that loophole. But we'll do an episode on that sometime later on too. But super clean car, wins concours and stuff like that. But it's not just a concours beauty queen. It actually is the car that won all the races.
You look at all the fit and finish and the trim. It's just freaking gorgeous.
Yeah. Let's go over. Let's take the nose off so people can see everything. You ready? You want to do that?
Yeah, I don't want to break anything. What do you?
It's you can't break it anything. All the worst thing you can do is lose these. These are not easy to find. They're like some sort of industrial thing, but they have to be just
car.
What?
McMaster car.
Right, exactly. No, they're not from there. And they have to have the right stampings on them. And
I apologize, Mr.
Yeah, so I put this
Concours.
in my back pocket, and then I'm going to leave the
We'll put that with
I'm going to put that and leave the museum without knowing. So
We'll put those with the Jag Concours parts.
So raise that hand. There you go, right. Okay.
Sounds like L.A. People.
Yeah, I
we
don't know if
already
you
had
guys
the
can hear
Smash
that, but there's like some sort of crazy homeless guy in the front of the museum here screaming at the top of his lungs.
Well, it happens, and it's L.A. It's not even usually a showstopper.
All right, let's try this again.
Okay, right hand?
Hello, right hand. This goes right here.
That'd be my left hand.
Whatever. Down to here. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then this one goes down here, and it just slides forward. There you go. Perfect. And don't pull up. Just go forward. Don't pull up. You're pulling up. Oh, there you go. Now just come here and put it down. You can put it down like that.
I didn't know there'd be labor involved this morning.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Well, I have to. You're union, so I have to pay you extra, right?
Yeah.
So
Get right
anyway,
on that.
We'll shoot some close-up in a minute on this and talk about it. But
yeah, that's just beautiful work.
It is. You know, honestly, okay, so in some ways this car is a little bit over-restored or whatever. This stuff that's all polished and all, it didn't really look like that from the factory. So it was a little bit. It's nice. It's Concours, all that guy. So once the car's done, and it enters its second life in a private collection or with other people, then they start making it look prettier than it really did in reality. But in general, nobody really cares.
It's not distasteful. It looks good.
Yeah. So yeah, here is the adjustable sway bar, as Sandy was mentioning before. It's a what do you call this? A blade, so you can twist it and it changes.
Changes the I guess the
modulus of elasticity.
Thank you.
From the so the I-beam
the
changes
strength.
of,
effectively.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's cool stuff.
Brake cylinders, master cylinders here, access points here. The various chassis this is an original Porsche chassis. You can tell from these three here. They're a certain pattern. The bolt pattern is a certain way. They're all. Every car is slightly different, but this is what a factory one looks like. So this windshield washer bottle. It's not that exciting. This plug here is for the lamps. They use like a mil spec kind of plug. It's kind of interesting and all that. So just kind of plain vanilla aluminum, anodized here. Just titanium. I think the springs are titanium. These bolts are all tie. This sway bar I think is tie in the front. Brake cooling ducts here. It's just all business end. This is 1986 that this car was made. The technology was good, but it wasn't like the F1 stuff nowadays.
But better than a bicycle frame made with aluminum tubing that was the fastest freaking car ever made.
Yeah. What's nice thing about the 962s and Porsches is that they weren't the fastest. They didn't have the best braking. They weren't the best cars overall in terms of actual performance, but 24 hours, extremely reliable. So very often, and Sebring too, very often the cars did not lead the races, they just outlasted everything else. So when Porsche won Le Mans, they were like third place for like forever until the Toyota broke or the Mercedes Sauber broke or anything like that. So it's interesting because that's such an important element of the race that people don't realize.
To me, that was always Le Mans. It's like, what car can last 24 hours being hammered that hard? And I remember there's some diesels that swept through there for a while. But they don't count because they don't break.
Every time I go travel to Mammoth, which is a 6-hour drive, I think, oh, okay, it's 4 more hours, and it's also 4 times the length of drive, and we're racing at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And think about how hard that is on a car.
Brakes and my story of actually being at Le Mans was about 10 minutes.
Yep.
But you could tell those cars were beat down. There was a bunch of vets just freaking hammered all day long, and they were starting to get, I think, just beaten down. And the Aston Martins all parts were stacking up. But it's just, that to me is a cool race. Because,
it is a cool race
because not because it's fast, not because the cars are anything. It's like what machine can take that kind of beating. Because some drivers are kind. I'm not a kind driver.
Neither any of these guys in this thing. Hans Stuck and all that. And,
I can't imagine. But, because they want to race.
Jochen Moss, Bobby Rahal.
What's
really cool is I have some interesting memorabilia.
I met Bobby Rahal years ago.
Oh, yeah?
He was a very, very nice guy.
I think he's the guy who won the 87 Sebring in this car.
I think he was on the CarCast show, and we talked with him about some of his early racing stuff. I don't remember what it was. It's been a long time back. But
we'll have to pull that up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was a good guy that you'd want to have here if we could ever get him to come down.
Yeah, maybe reunite him with the car.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what point? You got fuel gauge, oil gauge. I love all the way the gauges are labeled with like 1980s types oil type labels. They're usually labeled with the grandma attic kind of punchy thing.
The Dymo punch label. Dymo label.
Yeah, this one's this one they upgraded and spent some time with or whatever. But they got the fuel gauge, oil gauge. It's got dual temperature gauges. It's got boost gauge. It's got the tachometer. It's very interesting. People always ask, well, how fast does the car go when you're driving it? There's no speedometers in these cars.
Yes,
it doesn't matter how fast you're going. You don't need a speed. You don't need a speedometer in the car. So everyone else clocks you from the outside. It's just extra weight. So the only thing that's in the car is what you need.
Yeah, the dash on this is great too. It's not.
It is. It's like a mohair kind of just felt thing that you got it whatever it is.
Indoor outdoor carpeting.
Yeah.
It's like that old school stuff.
Yeah. So on this side, this sticker here of Bruce Levin, he was the garbage. He owned a garbage disposal company. So the old joke was he's the fastest garbage man in the West. We got the sticker. He had a little sticker on every one of his cars or whatever of him, the cartoon, the garbage guy or whatever. And this one says old Snagglepuss.
I don't know if it's him or not, but I remember something of that was a story when we got the tour.
Then his wife had the company his wife was Nancy Meyer, and she had her own lingerie company. And this is the boost knob over here. And it's important to have it outside of the car.
Because you don't want the driver.
So the driver can't change the boost. Only the mechanics can change the boost.
The driver gets pissed at that guy driving that whatever Audi.
I'm pretty sure it was some sort of regulation with the racing that you couldn't change it. But you know, on one of my other cars, I was gonna label the boost knob to be $1 sign, $2 signs, $3 signs, and the fourth one is kids' college education.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what it is on these
Last
cars.
one's fire, because you know that's how it ends up.
Yeah, yeah. This one's a little unusual because it has one of the unusual configurations where the exhaust comes out the top. It's pretty badass when flames shoot out the top of the car. It's beyond awesome.
We should roll this down, near the school. You know?
Yeah, not this one. Maybe another one. We'll throw a plate on it or whatever. But it'll be all AI generated because I don't think you're allowed to do that.
It'd be against the law.
It'll be against the law.
And we don't violate the law.
It's amazing what AI can do these days. It can make it look like you're driving a Le Mans race car on the street. You could just easily do that in AI.
Who's to say?
Officer. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, this is heavy.
Sorry, Peterson. I'm gonna walk that way. Okay, just put it on the ground.
Okay.
Can you shove the other one forward? Keep going. More. You can hit the sign. Go ahead. All right, there we go. We'll cut that in editing. Okay, so here's the
My
business.
system's not ready for manual labor.
Business end of the car.
That's badass.
It is badass.
We need to have like a logo, some cars we roll through that are it's pretty good, and then there's the badass logo.
Oh my God, this thing is awesome. You never want to put your hand on it.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's very bad form to do that. But 1,000 degrees in my hand. This is the big ass turbo right here. Obviously, here's the collectors for the turbo. We go into here. We've got dual wastegates. Somebody asked me why we have dual wastegates on this setup. The answer is, I don't know. I do not know why there's two wastegates. Maybe for redundancy. I'm not sure. Maybe to look cool and have two things of flame shooting up. Not sure. Here's our adjustable sway bar right here. The adjustable part's on this side. It turns and changes according to the. We'll get a shot in a minute. This is an overflow oil tank. This car's a little different than the other ones. Actually, one of the things is that they're all slightly different. So it's kind of hard to know the ins and outs of each individual one and remember all the details. But transmission, of course, here. And this is a design where the engine and the transmission are part of the structural part of the chassis. Okay, this is the clutch, slave cylinder, ignition coil. These are the intakes. It's of course a flat 6, very similar to the Porsche 911 engine. The case is almost identical to what would be in the production cars. This is the flat fan that you've seen on the 935s, and we'll probably see upstairs when we look at the 935. Throttle linkage here, fuel here. These are oil coolers and intercoolers as well. Let's see, this is the charged air intake for the intake manifold here. Once you look at this thing,
not crazy complicated.
No, it's not. Once you kind of identify where everything goes and all that, it kind of makes sense. It's all business,
Yeah, it's nice also in this era cars that they got away from just ugly looking welds to weld it and make sure it works.
Yeah.
They really took some time to do some.
Well, that's Porsche too. They kind of do it right. So let's get down here in the Venturi. This one has an interesting, unique design for the humongous airfoil Venturi airflow here for the ground effects. Don't know if it worked any better, but the car was very successful. So none of my other cars had this particular design. This is an air jack for lifting up the car in the pits. Let's see. Oh, on this side you can see more of the engine. So if you come over here, you can see this looks and resembles very much like a production 911 engine. So the same valve covers, same everything, and this is the air-cooled. It's an air-air, so it's exactly like the air-cooled engines that are in like a 911 ST or Carrera of the era. So a little extra oiling here. It's got twin plugs, of course, and it's got 2 distributors. Just one on the other side, but here's another coil. Yeah, it's an interesting thing too. Unique to these cars, 2 sets of injectors. Don't know why. I think it's because the injectors
Didn't flow enough.
Couldn't flow enough, so they got two sets in there.
I'm gonna show you. You know, I find something that bugs me in every car, without exception.
What's this one?
A nice radius inlet, and then what keeps this stuff from getting sucked in the turbo when a bad weld happens?
Don't know. This looks like squirrel cage stuff from Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
there it is. I'm done.
Yep. There's not much to complain about on this car. No. And even if you can, the results of it are absolutely 100% in its favor. There's no argument on this thing. This is absolute business end of everything. This is it. This is like one of the greatest cars ever made right here. So, yeah. I want you to pop into the the driver's compartment here.
Yeah.
So, we've got the tach. This is the manifold pressure for the turbo, engine and gear oil.
Those look like stock gauges.
No, they're not stock. Actually, I found one of these at the swap meet in Germany. We've been looking for one for years. They are lightweight aluminum. They weigh nothing. They're extremely hard to find and extremely rare. So I was really pleased to find one just sitting on some guy's booth and paid a fortune for it. But actually, not really. I would have paid more. It wasn't really that bad. So these are all the little kind of weird indicators that for some reason they're really expensive. They used them in the 917s and Porsche used them, and they're kind of off the shelf from Germany in that era, but you can't get them anymore. But people are reproing them. So. But these are all original and all that. So oil pressure, fuel pressure. When we're starting these things up, this is the one that actually has the most problem. You have to make sure you got fuel pressure. Ignition's up and ignition lower, so you can test each one.
Let me reset here for a second. Okay, go ahead.
Ignition upper, ignition lower, because it's a twin plug system. Regular Porsche key, it's kind of permanently in there, but it's the same key. It's pretty interesting, it just starts right up, and you turn the key.
Daily driver.
Here, hand me the camera. I'll get underneath here. Titanium steering column underneath. Those are really rare and hard to find. We have to have that one made, and they're bitchingly expensive. All the pedals and stuff are lightweight. Titanium hardware and custom made. All that stuff. Fuse boxes is interesting here. Same as on the 911. So.
When do we go for a drive? Is really.
No, we might take something out. Well, we got to get it back.
Well,
out
you
of the
go
museum
for a
first.
drive.
Yeah, exactly. No, this thing is awesome. I've driven it on the street. Like around the Concourse Street.
Near the high school again?
Yeah, no, not near the high school.
Buzz the high school.
No, we don't buzz in the high school. No. But this thing is badass. Any questions?
No, I don't.
No.
What would you ask? What would I ask? Is it a good car? Yes.
Yes, it is a very good car. Is it
Yes.
a quick car? Absolutely. Is it a winner? Absolutely. Won 7 races. It's no nonsense. That's why it's here in the museum.
All on account of an accident.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, I think we're done with this one.
All right, next.
Yep.
No, you say that.
Next.